All right, it's 2:01. I'm going to go ahead and get started with some welcome notes, housekeeping. We have our guest speakers today, Mr. Jimmy Smith, Director of Small Business Programs with the Department of Navy. We have Mr. Kyle Beagle, Associate Director, Small Business Programs with the Marine Corps Systems Command. We are so glad to have you. Our moderator today is going to be Dr. Troy Tyre. He's the Vice President of U.S. Operations and Delivery Solutions for Proposal Helper. And I'm your host, Reena Bhatia. I'm the CEO of Proposal Helper. Quick housekeeping before I turn it over to Dr. Tyre to introduce our speakers. Our Q&A line is open to all participants to submit questions. You can use the chat box to submit or share your contact information to network with each other. If you'd like to network, please use the chat function, but questions for the speakers will only be picked up from the Q&A box. So please use those two features as such, networking in the chat function, questions in the Q&A box. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with everyone. We ask that you not record this separately and not share it with anyone other than, or get permission from us if you'd like to share your recording with anyone, but we prefer you not record it. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tyre to introduce our guests.
Hey, Reena, thank you. We've got two very experienced guest speakers today on how to grow and expand your business with the Department of the Navy. Our first speaker will be Mr. Jimmy Smith. He is the Director, Office of Small Business Programs, Department of the Navy. Mr. Smith was selected for Senior Executive Service in March of 2010 after 19 years of federal service. He assumed the duties of the Director of Small Business Programs in June of 2019. He serves as the Chief Advisor to the Secretary of the Navy on all small business matters. He oversees small business acquisition policy, strengthening government and private sector partnerships, and fostering opportunities to leverage small businesses as strategic advantage for the benefit of the warfighters. He served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Expeditionary Programs and Logistics Management, where he was the principal advisor to the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition on matters relating to the Navy's expeditionary forces, delivering upon urgent warfighter needs, and overseeing acquisition logistics policies. He has also served as the Director of Integrated Nuclear Weapons Safety and Security within the Navy's Strategic Systems Programs. Underneath where he was charged with the safekeeping of nearly 70% of this nation's nuclear arsenal. He executed the Director of Strategic Systems Programs Technical Authority by providing nuclear safety and security policies and direction to more than 4,500 government and industry personnel. He also served as the Director of Above Water Sensors Directorate within the PEO Integrated Warfare Systems. Mr. Smith has a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Tuskegee University, and his graduate level studies include Environmental Engineering, Marine Engineering, and Business Management. He also possesses 4 executive leadership certificates from Cornell University School of Industrial and Labor Relations, and 2 business-related certificates from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagner Business School. His awards, they include 2 Navy Superior Civilian Service Awards, 3 Navy Meritorious Civilian Service Awards, the 2016 Black Engineer of the Year Award, and the Blacks in Government DoD Civilian Meritorious Service Award. He was also the recipient of the Department of Defense David Packard Acquisition Excellence Award and 32 other awards and recognitions. Mr. Smith is a member of the DoD Acquisition Professional Community, and he possesses 3 Defense Acquisition Workforce Improvement Act Level 3 certificates in the areas of program management, test and evaluation, and systems planning, research, development, and engineering. And I will go ahead and introduce our second speaker as well so that they can talk freely once we get to that point. But our second speaker is Mr. Kyle Beagle. Mr. Beagle is the director of the Office of Small Business Programs, Marine Corps Systems Command. He serves as the chief advisor to the Marine Corps on all small business related matters. He's responsible for small business acquisition policies, strategic initiatives, small business outreach, and small business subcontracting programs. He joined Marine Corps Systems Command in June of 2018. He has 10 years of federal service. Prior to receiving this appointment, he served as a small business professional at many DoD commands. He also is a member of the DoD acquisition professional community with a level 3 certificate in contracting and is certified level 2 in program management. Mr. Beagle holds a Bachelor of Science degree in business administration with a major in finance and economics from Old Dominion University and an MBA from Cornell University. So as you just heard, we have some very esteemed speakers today. So with that, Mr. Smith, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Outstanding. Thanks for the warm introduction there, Dr. Tyre. I do appreciate it. I'm excited to be here today. Both my colleague Kyle Beagle and I plan to cover down on a presentation here, but we really look forward to the Q&A session that's going to ensue after we get through some slides. So let's go ahead and bring those slides up and we can get on with it. And that introduction was way too long. I was like, who is he talking about? I don't know this Smith guy. But I do appreciate it, Dr. Tyre. That was awesome. All right, folks, we're gonna have some fun today. This won't be a stuffy webinar like you may be accustomed to, but we're gonna get down to the work and the capability that we're looking for here. In keeping with most things in the Department of Defense, everything we do, even small business participation, is covered under the National Defense Strategy. And as you can see from the documents on the slide here, we're perfectly aligned to make sure that we're in focus with what's being called for by the leaders of the Department of Defense. 3 focus areas: people, capability, and processes. And all of those things lead to the 3 lines of effort called out in the National Defense Strategy. I would welcome to you the unclassified, or if you have access to the classified version of the National Defense Strategy, please take a look at these guiding documents as the key tenets behind what we're charged to do, and vector your work and your participation in what we need down those lines of effort. Next slide, please. So getting right onto the Department of the Navy and how we're arranging. Kyle, I'll let you introduce Marine Corps Systems Command when we get to it. But across the Department of the Navy, we have 10 major buying commands. And those 10 major buying commands are basically those entities that have the money and the contracts and the opportunity for you to do business with us. We'll give you a quick rundown of what each one does, where they're located, and the small business professionals, their phone numbers are located on those slides there. So first up, U.S. Marine Corps Installations and Logistics. These folks provide that infrastructure support to the Marine Corps. So if you need a base, road built, water purification plants, those things to support the deployment of Marines across the world, that's what that organization does, and they're headquartered in Northern Virginia. Again, Mr. Carlton Higgins is responsible for small business in that area, and that's his phone number. Kyle, I'll let you introduce Marine Corps Systems Command.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Marine Corps Systems Command is the ground weapons and IT systems component for Marine Corps buying. Basically, we buy all the ground systems and IT systems for the entire Marine Corps across the entire world, to be honest with you. So to put it shortly, we'll probably dig more into it when we get to Q&A, but I don't want to take up all the time. I want to give Jimmy enough time to cover the other very important naval commands.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for that, Kyle. Next on the list is Naval Facilities Engineering Command. This is the folks that maintain the naval facilities worldwide, bases for Navy, ports, docks, piers, those sorts of things to maintain infrastructure for the Navy. Construction facilities, power generation, water purification, you name it. If you're interested in that line of work, the Naval Facilities Engineering Command is who you want to talk to, and they're headquartered at the Washington Navy Yard. Next on the list, strategic systems programs. This is the high-end threat. The folks that are interested in working in this area will work in the area of nuclear weapons, very strategic assets that we use only hopefully in last resorts to any conflict that we may have, but high-end threat, great technology, really pushing the end of the envelope when it comes to those capabilities in those areas. Next on the list is the Naval Supply Systems Command, headquartered in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. This is where we get all of our commodities for the most part for Navy-specific kind of items. So think about when you go to Costco or Super Walmart, things you can buy there. This is sort of the same construct that we have for the Department of the Navy. So anything we need by way of spare parts, paints, oils, lubricants, to get those spare parts fixed and worked on, to send them out for repair, overhaul, that particular activity handles those efforts on a worldwide basis for the Navy. And one tier up would be the Defense Logistics Agency that handles those same sorts of things, but on an entire Department of Defense level. Next on the list, Military Sealift Command. Not sure if many of you know, but we actually have a second Navy outside of our primary Navy. We actually charter ships, like you see here in that picture, large cargo ships to provide replenishment, underway activities for our ships so that we don't need to pull into port. We can actually exchange goods, food, fuel, spare parts, things we need in order to keep our ships at sea and deployed can be deployed from these chartered ships, and Military Sealift Command, headquartered in Norfolk, Virginia, provides those services for our ocean-going transport. Next on the list, Naval Air Systems Command, headquartered in Patuxent River, Maryland. Anything that flies in the Navy, be it fixed wing, rotary wing, drones, you name it, if it flies off of a US platform, NAVAIR is the responsible activity if you're interested in those sorts of things. Next on the list, NAVWAR, Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, and this is where we get all of our IT, communications, basically the war fighting capability from a ones and zeros electronic standpoint to be put on our ships and back ashore when it comes to office support in the area of IT, cyber, those things of that nature. Again, headquartered in San Diego, California. Next on the list, the Office of Naval Research for the science, technology, research and development, and discovery and invention. Those things that we're looking forward to rolling into our capability and our fighting forces in the future is what you're going to focus on in the Office of Naval Research. So SBIRs, STTRs, things of that nature for the fight after the next fight, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road on what the Navy needs to be postured to do. That organization is working on those things today. And last on the list, but definitely not least, is the largest major buying command across the Department of the Navy, is the Naval Sea Systems Command. Life cycle support for every ship, submarine, aircraft carrier, and all of those things that we deploy for them. And it's total life cycle support from design all the way through disposal. And I'm sure you're aware, we keep some of these platforms around for many, many years off into the future, 50, 60 years off into the future. So taking care of the care and feeding, that organization does it and is headquartered at the Washington Navy Yard. So that's a summary of the 10 major buying commands in doing business with us. There's other commands out there like BUMED, folks that do things in the medical industry. Very important, not part of the main construct of what we're talking about here today. And we do have some other ancillary commands that provide the exchange, those things that our sailors and Marines to support the day-to-day convenience of having stores and those sorts of things on base. Those will be handled separately. Okay, next slide. So Procurement Technical Assistance Center. One of the things that I understood from the audience that we're talking to today is that you all are probably more experienced than most when it comes to doing business with the Department of Defense. And one of the things that I wanted to offer to you was the PTAC program. The PTACs are basically local offices all across the United States that are there and free of charge to you to provide you the resources and necessary information in order how to do business with us. Defense Logistics Agency currently oversees this program. These are some of the most useful people on the planet when it comes to small businesses finding those opportunities to do business with the Department of Defense and government on a much broader scale as well. So highly encourage you to reach out to your local PTACs. They have great boots on the ground information and also there to support you on a local, more personal level with how to do business with us. And I'm not dissuading you to do business with my office, but these folks are in your local areas and the passion that they bring to the fight truly amazes me with the things that they do in support of our mission. Next slide, please. So one of the things I wanted to show you on how well we're doing today across the various socioeconomic groups and overall, the Department of the Navy has currently spent $57.96 billion this fiscal year. And as you can see from the breakout, other than small businesses have received just over 50 or nearly $51 billion of that, and small businesses have received $7.12 billion at this point in time. This snapshot was taken on 13 April. As you can see, we have a small business goal of 15.61% of all of the money we spend across the Department of the Navy gets spent on small businesses. And in no way do I get credit for any opportunity where small businesses are serving as subs to other industry partners. This is only prime opportunities for small businesses to do business with us directly. That's what these numbers reflect. So no subcontracting numbers are reflected by way of these stats. And as you can see, as you move across the board on the dial there on the dashboard, small disadvantaged businesses, we're coming up on the governor for that. Service disabled veterans, women owned and hub zone. We look forward to meeting our goals and objectives that are set before us before Department of Defense and the Small Business Administration above that. And we're on a very good track to achieve and exceed our goals for this fiscal year. So that's currently how we stand. And if you look at the very top of the page, you can see where we're spending our money. Knowledge-based areas, facility-related services, equipment services, and research and development. You can see the large breakdown on what we're spending money on in a couple areas. And I'll give you some more breakdown in another couple of slides. Next slide, please. Just to give you a scorecard on how well we did last year. Last year, we had a total available of over $100 billion that we spent across the Department of the Navy. We spent $16.82 billion on small businesses serving as primes. And as you can see with all the green on the board, we did very well in all the socioeconomic categories at the end of the fiscal year. Even in light of COVID, we did better than we have ever done across the Department of the Navy last fiscal year. And having the agility of small businesses and the participation that you brought to the fight, the innovation, the willingness to take on PPE requirements when you may have been working on a different line of effort altogether, those kind of actions that industry took to respond to our needs were tremendous, and it's reflected in how well we did by way of participation in all these various areas. So thanks to industry for helping us blow our requirements by way of the goals that are set in front of us out the water last fiscal year, even under the austere concerns that we had with COVID. Next slide. So on the slide here, we want to show you doing business with the Don and what we buy. You can actually go to the Office of Small Business Programs website, which is located down in the lower left-hand corner. Visit our website, search on what the Don buys, and you can actually see those things by way of NICS codes, description, the command that has it, the acquisition strategy, when we anticipate awarding the next solicitation. You can find a wealth of information on how to do business with us and the things that we're currently buying. So welcome this resource to you, absolutely free of charge. And again, the website's there at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. So what we're spending in FY20? This is overall across the Department of the Navy. I'm sort of slicing the pie up here on the things we're spending our money on. So in FY20, as you can see, the large blue things, we buy large capital assets, ships, aircraft, land vehicles for the Marine Corps, knowledge-based services, and so on as you work your way around clockwise around the chart. This is where we spent our money last fiscal year. And let's go to the next slide so you can see where we spent small business money last year. A couple of the same areas are still lighting up as in the top 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock range on this chart, where facilities, transportation services, those things, and a bunch of other categories is where we're spending a large portion of our $17.4 billion last year on small businesses. So again, we're spending in all the right areas. We're showing you exactly where the money is going to help you forecast on those opportunities you may want to get involved in the future. Next slide. So one of the things that we also wanted to offer to you was on that same website, you can visit our long range acquisition forecast. And from this animation, you can see on the left, doing business with the Don, go over to the long range acquisition forecast, and you can go to each one of the 10 major buying commands and see the solicitations that they plan on offering out over the next several years to come. And I'm talking about all the way out to the year 2026. We have solicitations that we're planning on offering and putting out on the street so that you can strategically plan on doing business with us. You can look at who the incumbent is now. You may want to partner with that incumbent for a future opportunity, or you may want to look for an opportunity to prime as that contract sunsets and those opportunities open themselves up. But again, resources available for you, totally transparent on how we're doing business. And the one thing that I would kind of offer to you is don't hold me to, if we say we're going to put that solicitation out on the third quarter of FY22 and it doesn't come out in the third quarter of FY22, it may be a little late, it may be a little early. That's currently the forecast. And this is a living document that we ask the major buying commands to keep current, so that you understand where we're moving things to and where financially or from a requirement standpoint, how we're going to behave when we offer these opportunities to you. Again, long range acquisition forecast. And I'll tell you folks, it's a bit overwhelming right up front. The first time we put all of this information together and you saw the font size that was on the screen, we had 89 Excel spreadsheet pages of 5 font text of opportunities of doing business with us over the next several years out into the future. But again, your NICS code, match it up with opportunities, see if that's an activity that you want to do business with and those services you want to provide or capability, and let's go figure out how to do business with one another. So again, completely transparent. Next slide, please. Upcoming procurements. I wanted to give you a snapshot of those things that we're looking for that you may want to investigate. So Headquarters Marine Corps, I'll take the top one off the list. Headquarters Marine Corps INL, cybersecurity, cyberspace, defense support is the requirement title. Currently anticipate to be a woman-owned small business set aside, values less than $1 million. And when we're planning on anticipating the award, third quarter FY23. So this gives you a representative example of those kind of things that you'll find in that opportunity to do business with us. And the acquisition strategy are key indicators for where we're leaning in these areas in order to do business with our partners with the acquisition strategies we have. And one of the things that I want to point out to you that I didn't say earlier regarding the stats and the goals and all of those things are actually just goals. They're not requirements. If I don't make my goals that are set by me by the Department of Defense or by the Small Business Administration, nothing bad actually happens to me. But we have a conscientious program management team and contracting officers team set up all across the Navy where they're looking for the right opportunities, for the right acquisition strategies to do business with our industry partners. So this is what the warfighters and those providing capability and support to the warfighters want. And that's to do business with you in these areas, and the acquisition strategies are indicators of what they're looking for in order to support their needs, and how market research, responding to sources sought, Those sorts of things kind of point them down certain areas in order to determine how they're going to do business in the future. Okay, next slide. I beat that one up enough. One of the things that I wanted to offer to our industry partners is the Mentor Protege program. And from a foot stomping standpoint, this is a great way for a large industry partner to assist a small industry partner and let the government pay for it. For every teaming agreement that's reached under the Mentor Protege program, you can spend up to $3 million on that large industry partner assisting that small industry partner. Again, the money goes to the large, the support and assistance goes to the small, and up to $3 million that we can have in that regard. The Office of the Secretary of Defense holds onto this money, and the services wage battle amongst one another to determine whose teaming agreements are worthy for this kind of opportunity to move forward with. And the Navy is looking for more industry partners to present to us teaming agreements with the opportunity to spend some of this money to go off and help another industry partner get a leg up with the things they need in order to provide that capability or service that we're looking for. So real brief snapshot of that. It's a great opportunity, and I haven't seen many people look this in the face and not want to go explore it with another industry partner in order to further those ends that the smaller industry partner may need. So great for large, great for medium, smalls helping smalls also allowed. Okay, next slide. Leveraging the Don Innovation Centers. One of the things that we set up in the last fiscal year was Naval X, and we have these technology bridges. We have a super connector kind of focused on how we're providing new technology, open ideas. Let's go figure out how to do things in different ways than we've done in the past. These are great opportunities in these locations, and we're currently working on building more all across the United States. But let's go connect the right people with the right opportunity in order to further innovation and change and agility in what we do. The Naval X is a great opportunity and a great event for the Navy to use things that we didn't anticipate that commercial thing would be useful for our needs, but industry comes into this particular forum, shows us capability, warfighters show up, and the synergy amongst these groups brings about the things we need in order to go off and fight the next fight and the fight after that. So great incubator for, didn't even know that thing could be used for military purposes, but having like minds show up with different perspectives and things that we need to go off and do, and maybe you can tweak it this way in order to support our needs. Great opportunities, great open forums for you to bring things to the attention of the Department of Defense, especially the Navy in this case, so that we can go off and further doing business with one another in innovative ways that probably weren't even conceived at the onset. Next slide. I'm almost done, folks, and we can get to the questions. Another great available resource to our industry partners, the Defense Acquisition University, classes, training for contractors. These are all opportunities free to you to use at the government's expense that you can find reference materials, documentation, policies, procedures, how we do business step by step, how to overcome challenges of doing business with us. Those barriers are being broken down in a magnificent way across the Defense Acquisition University. And this is to do business with the entire government. We kind of home in on DOD in this particular case, but all of these resources that we're pointing out to you here are good for doing business with the government. Next slide. Okay, Don OSBP, this is the website where I highly recommend that you become a subscriber to our mailing list. We do webinars. I was telling our host earlier today, Reena, that I do so many webinars and on different topics that you should subscribe to these free opportunities to learn about what it is we're looking for, various topics like CMMC. We talk about that quite often and those things that we're going to roll out. And it is just a great way for you to figure out how to exploit opportunities of doing business with us. And this shows you our webinar series. We got an upcoming webinar, DoD matchmaking event here coming up in a couple of days. DAS&P, NASA, even the Air Force's small business comes and debuts their stuff on our website. Last year for Army Navy, the football game, working up to that game, we actually hosted the Army on the Navy small business website to tell about all those things that the Army needs from our followers that are following us on social media. And again, all these things are kept on in our library and available for use and recalling back to those events that we've had in the past. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of free resources. Don't miss the opportunity to take advantage of these things. All right, I'm almost done, I promise. Sea Air Space event coming up 1 through 4 August at National Harbor here in the Washington, D.C. area. Great way for small businesses to showcase what they do. And you've got customer, large industry partners, medium, smalls, all there, and a great opportunity to network and share. Next, please. The large Navy Gold Coast event. This is the Navy Showcase small business event that we do every year in San Diego. Currently planning on being a virtual event again this year, but welcome that to you on September 1 and 2 of this year, 2021. Next slide. All right, last but not least, we're connected in the social media domain like nobody's business. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to find how to do business with the Department of the Navy. And follow us, YouTube us, tweet us, whatever it takes to do business. We're there for you. Q&A, TED Talk-like conversations we have on various subject matters. All, again, resources for you to take advantage of in order to support what we do by way of supporting the warfighter or supporting those that support the warfighter. And I think I'm done with my slides. So let's get to the Q&A here, Dr. Tyre.
All right, Mr. Smith. I'm going to start with one, and I think it's going to lead into quite a few others.
Okay.
Are there any preferred contracting vehicles that Department of Navy prefers, especially for a small business to get into growth and expansion into the Department of Navy?
Absolutely. The Seaport Next Generation contract is our large MAC vehicle, IDIQ vehicle that we use primarily for 9/10 of those major buying commands. NavAir uses Oasis. Those are great opportunities for small businesses to maybe initially partner with an industry partner that may be already on it, or to look for those on-ramps for opportunities to join so that you can serve as a prime. They periodically have on-ramps, and we also have off-ramps for those industry partners that aren't performing or that aren't looking to stay on those contract vehicles. So again, those are the primary tools we use. Contracting officers are sort of mandated to look at those opportunities first. And then if your needs can't be met by way of the Seaport Next Gen or the Oasis contract for NavAir, then you can go outside and explore opportunities to do contracting separately. So hopefully that answers the question.
Sir, any updates on the next on-ramp for Seaport Next Gen?
Actually, I get an update tomorrow, as a matter of fact, from those program managers that run that particular contracting vehicle out of NSWC Dahlgren. So I will have an update tomorrow, but I can take that question to respond back, particularly to the person or persons that may be asking.
We'll follow up with your office tomorrow.
Okay, and trust me, as soon as we become aware of those opportunities, we also publicize it so that people don't miss the opportunity to get onto these events, these vehicles for supporting the Navy and Marine Corps.
Yeah, I think you've already answered this one, but a lot of the opportunities that come out either on Oasis or Seaport Next Gen require prior experience with the Navy or the Marine Corps, and they require facility clearances. How does a mature company that's got the expertise but no facility clearance and no Navy or Marine Corps experience, how do they get a foot in the door?
Well, one of the things that I would, and I'm gonna ask Kyle to jump in here also, one of the things that I would ask of that company is, do you have relevant commercial experience or other government experience that you could leverage off of to make the case for why you can do that work? one of the things that we're very leery of is sending work to people who may not be accustomed to dealing with us and how special we can be. So we want to make sure that people aren't set up for failure in that regard. But relevant experience is relevant experience. And making a case to the program manager or the contracting officer, those things are very important. And we look for those opportunities to help you get an audience with them in order to show what you're capable of. But one of the things that I would ask our small businesses to do is maybe seek out an opportunity to sub for another industrial partner. And when the CPARs are written about what that large industry partner is doing by the customer, make sure that they have something good to say about the sub as well, your company, so that you can show through other company CPARs how well you're performing, and let that sort of stick out as opportunities where you have done great jobs in support of our mission, and that bolsters the support that you can have going forward with us. Kyle, anything you want to add to that?
Just a little bit, Jimmy. Overall, great advice to any industry, any business wanting to do business with the Navy or Marine Corps and wanting to get on Seaport. In the case of Seaport contractors, a good way to get past performance is sometimes look at stuff that might be a little smaller, try to see what the commercial marketplace brings, because there are I believe there's 5 exemptions for when we don't have to use Seaport. So remember those. They are in cars. I don't remember all 5 of them right off the top of my head, but I know 2 of them are 8A and commercial items. So those are 2 ways to be out there. So if you do have like a GSA contract, if the supposed command decides to use GSA, that's not a bad way to get Navy experience. It's not as heavily used as Seaport. I can state that at least is the case for the Marine Corps. I won't speak for any of my other Navy counterparts without their permission. But so those are some ways to get there. And also reach out to the small business people that are associated with each command. We are here to help you, and we are here to help you find out how to get those opportunities, and even potentially connect you with some of the teaming partners, as Jimmy was talking about in the case of subcontracting.
I'd like to piggyback on that question if I can. As the Navy, Marine Corps, or Navy in overall, have you ever considered having an evaluation factor that specifically says Navy experience not required? Would that ever happen?
We do have contracts that don't always require experience for some of the very innovative stuff we're doing where no one's ever done it before, but
Absolutely. And I think some of the OTAs, some of the other transactional authorities that we execute, we're absolutely looking for companies who don't historically do business with us, that may have a product that may have some military utility, but that company doesn't even know it yet. Those particular non-FAR based contracts are great opportunities for you to do business with us, and it has nothing to do with past performance whatsoever. So there are other tools in the toolbox we can use in order to go after those things we need. But some cases, the history of being able to do things with us and knowing how to operate inside a shipyard, knowing how to operate with sailors and Marines, to learn that for the first time and it be your first time doing your job, we don't want to set you up for a failure. And in some cases, if you don't know when you're walking into some of these situations blindly, that could be more of a disturbance to you getting your work done, is as you're learning what to do in order to operate with us, and instead of you just providing your product. So military's special.
If you can, I'm piggybacking on this because there is a way with micro purchases.
Yes.
Can you touch a little bit about micro purchases and how companies can get their foot in the door with those? Where can they find this information?
Absolutely. And Kyle, what's the name of the Navy site? It's the K. We actually have a small business site just for Navy that handles micro purchases. I tell you what, I'll look it up and make sure I get back to you in that regard. But we have a micro purchase separate website just for things we need on the smaller scale of doing business with us. And a lot of it's consumables, things of that nature. But there are some services on there as well. But I'll gladly provide that website to that link.
Yeah, I think that's a good way for at least the commodity companies who are first time supplying Micro purchases are a great way, but a lot of companies don't know where to find this information.
Absolutely. If you didn't ask me, I would have been able to rattle off that, and it's one of those acronyms that we use as a noun. But there is a website where you can go to, and it starts with K, but it'll probably come back to me during the discussion here. But I'll make sure I get that address to that site where you can register your company, and then you're open up to all of those ideas. If I have another one here. The Defense Logistics Agency also has a site where if you have a contract with the Department of Defense, you can actually sell your goods and services to other industry partners or to the government via FedMall. FedMall is a great way for you to, I don't need to buy 1,000,000, I need to buy 1,000, or I want to sell 1,000, I can't sell 1,000,000. Great opportunity for small businesses to work in the scale appropriate for their business in that regard. So the Navy has a similar site there as well. Over.
Yes, sir. Other than being a subcontractor or maybe a mentor protege program, is there any other ways a company might get their foot in the door as far as a facility clearance? That's kind of one of the catch-alls to where you've got to have a contract to apply for it, but you can't apply for it if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely the chicken and the egg when it comes to facilities clearance. You have to have a contract in order to get the work to do the contract, but having a sponsoring agency or office to sponsor you to get your facilities clearance because of what you're going to provide and the fact that we need you to be tucked behind more secretive and security domains, that's where there's a negotiation with that particular customer in that regard, where someone sees what you can do, but we really need to tuck it behind closed doors in order to not have it compromised. And they will take that opportunity to sponsor you for your clearance and the things that need to happen in order to get your facility up to par in order for it to become a SCIF and things of that nature. But it is a catch-22. You can't get one until you have one, but you have to have a customer that's willing to take that risk of allowing that opportunity to take place.
And we have a complete separate webinar coming up on that. So we'll let the audience know about security clearances. But Dr. Tyre, I do want to give Mr. Beagle a chance to present in the interest of time. So Mr. Beagle, you're up.
So, okay, well, I wasn't ready for any presentation formally, but if you want to have more information about my command, of course, we have a website. We also have a 10-step program on the website there for Marine Corps Systems Command on how to do business. A couple of things businesses might want to get involved in with Syscom is we've been doing quarterly virtual vendor days, and we do quarterly roundtables. So those are ways we do a smaller outreach to kind of cover certain programs more in depth in the command. Our training systems office down in Orlando, Florida, they do a monthly outreach session, and they are also involved in some of the tech bridges that Jimmy mentioned earlier. So we are doing stuff down there with it's a Central Florida Tech Grove or something like that. I know we're doing a CIBR event with them tomorrow, and I know they're doing what they're calling juice bars virtually for lunchtime events.
All right, Mr. Beagle, real quick question for you. Do you have like matchmaking sessions for mentor protege programs?
So we tend to tag on to a lot of PTech events for those. We don't do them directly with the command to matchmake with our large primes, because that relationship should be organically formed with a large prime to make sure that they understand the partnership aspect and that they're really there where we're not just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, so to speak. But that way, but we do heavily encourage it, and we also work to help match for teaming arrangements. But that mentor protege aspect, just because it's truly a formal agreement, truly a formal arrangement, we want the two businesses on both ends to really benefit from it. Well, we'll help push the process along and help explain it. We don't ever want to be a wedding planner, so to speak. We just want to help it get along. We want to be the wingman for it, so to speak, I guess you could say.
Yes, sir, understood. And I guess a question for either one of you. Are there any specific opportunities for institutes of higher education, specifically maybe historically Black colleges and universities?
Absolutely. The Office of Small Business, I'm sorry, the Office of Naval Research is the activity where that capability resides. And it's all things academic, HBCUs, minority serving institutions, Hispanic serving institutions, Native American serving institutions. That activity has a very, very renowned program, and I believe it's to the tune of $80 million a year. It's spent kindergarten all the way through PhD regarding academic institutions being involved in providing that fertilization we need to make sure we always have a sustained workforce. The talent management, the pipeline is there. Very phenomenal plans there. So I encourage you to look at the Office of Naval Research to pursue those areas further. And STTRs are those akin to SBIRs, to the SBIR program that academic institutions use in order to further new innovations, things that academia can bring to the Department of Defense. And we work very closely with a number of academic institutions all across the country. But great question. But Office of Naval Research for all things academic.
I'll add one thing to that, Jimmy, just if you don't mind.
Yep.
Another thing also to look into that, just for the academic institutions, I know there's not a big payment around it, but there's a way to get a good relationship building is CRADAs, the cooperative research agreement aspect as well. We have like, I think
absolutely through our warfare centers and laboratories, there's partnerships and agreements there where academic institutions can further their interests with schools and working really to get that next workforce working on the things we need.
I think one of the things we need to remind our contracting community is there are more ways to do business than just responding to a traditional RFP.
Absolutely.
So that's not the only way to do business with the government or the Navy. So look at these other avenues because that's the one thing that we remind. Can you talk a little bit about tech transfer with the Navy? Are you prepared to talk about that aspect?
What aspects of tech transfer are we talking about? Data rights, or what are we?
No, just how that program works, and very few, at a very high level. Where can companies find information? Because that is another way to do business with the Navy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tech transfer is another great opportunity where proven, ready to go technology ported over for use. And one of the things that typically drive that I've seen it happen in the past has been, we have a number of experiments that we do all across the Department of the Navy, and they occur all across, oceans of the world, where we will bring your gear out and let it play with sailors and Marines and let them evaluate how well that capability works for them, or maybe it makes some recommendations on things you can change or add or adapt to your capability in order to make something into the things that they need. But it's a fast track to getting something that you've developed into the hands of people who need it right away and can put it to best use instead of the ongoing valley of death and things of that nature that I'm sure companies have experienced in the past. Tech transfer is a great opportunity for you to show us what you have. One of the things that I want our industry partners to understand fully, though, is that we just don't buy things because they're cool. We buy things to meet mission. Okay, and it could be the best thing ever, but if I don't have a mission requirement for it, I don't have money for it, therefore I can't buy it from you or sustain the life cycle support of that thing. So great ideas are great, but having something that meets our mission, that provides that capability we need to support people going off into harm's way or supporting people who are going off into harm's way, that's paramount first. And I would love to say we have all this money laying around waiting to give it to you, but really it's targeted towards those things that meet requirements first. Over.
Yes, sir. And from a small business perspective, how can the small businesses meet with the contracting officers, contracting specialists, program managers for different programs?
Right. Great opportunity. Those 10 small business organizations that we have across those 10 major buying commands, they're your entry point into that command. And because of COVID, we've got a little restrictions now as far as face-to-face meetings and things of that nature, but we've learned how to go virtual in a very big way, and providing you, the audience, with the program manager or the contracting officer is what we see our jobs as doing. or making sure that you are on the list to get the requirements, get the solicitation when it pops out. All of those things we can help expedite. We're really here to support industry doing business with us, and we're that connective tissue to make sure that those relationships are built. And responding to sources sought is another great opportunity for our industry partners to let us know what you're capable of doing so that you can shape the outcome of that acquisition strategy for that particular solicitation, because all we need is the rule of two in many cases to set work aside. So if I've got two 8A companies who say they can do that work by way of our sources sought, that contracting officer and program manager can have a discussion that, hey, we can break this work out separately and send it down this path because I have at least two industry partners that say they can fulfill the work. And that can help shape your mind. But again, letting people know, providing your capability sheets to the small business office so we can get it in our market research tools. Those are things that I think you have to do in order to plant the seeds for growing your business instead of, I'm here, what you got for me?
Sure.
I'm here, what you got for me may be a matter of good timing, bad timing. But if you want to actually work strategically in this environment, I think it's about building some relationships, and you can start with the small business professionals across all of these organizations. And they're not just at that buying level. We also have them that go all the way down to various echelons within those individual commands. So out in the field, out in the laboratory, on the bases, these are people who are passionate about growing small business, let me tell you.
Sir, Mr. Beagle, anything specific from Mark or Syscom?
Pretty much what Jimmy said. Just reach out to me or my deputy AJ. We'll get you in touch with the PM or contract specialist accordingly. Yes, we are doing mostly virtual visits. I believe I do have one site visit next week that's on site for a demo type thing, but that was planned like 4 or 5 months ago, and that's probably been a little bit of a pain to plan with COVID all around, but it is what it is. And of course, with our recent computer issues, we've got some other things going on.
Mr. Smith and Mr. Beagle, I want to pick up on a repeated request that comes in, and a question or a grievance, I would say, from small businesses. Subcontracting is a great way to get into a new agency. Large businesses use small business quals and past performance, but then they never get any work. So
yes, ma'am.
Your advice on that?
So you have just scratched open the one scar that I have in this job. And I will tell you, my first 6 weeks on this job, I had 8 small businesses come see me, and they came in independent of one another, and they had that same complaint. We're being used and courted in front of the customer in the pre-solicitation phase. When the award comes out, I can't find that prime that had me on their team so that I can get any of this work. Well, again, we have a business situation here. The government's going to get in business with the prime. The prime actually has a subcontracting plan that they're supposed to provide to the government before award, and once it's awarded, we're supposed to ensure its compliance. That's one of the areas where I personally initiated an audit across the entire Department of the Navy and Marine Corps to understand how well are we enforcing the subcontracting plans that these large industry partners are giving to us. And I will tell you, as a matter of culture, as a matter of human behavior, when we award a contract, everybody celebrates. Party, cake, champagne, the whole 9 yards, government, industry, everybody's happy. But when it's time to execute it and the enforcement of that contract, it's like everybody goes away because no one's applauding the work that people do in order to make sure that there's compliance. So we have to change the culture to where you're celebrated for enforcing contracts, not just pay the money, pay the bill, and when it sunsets, we'll get a new one. That can't be the fait accompli there. It needs to be persistently enforced throughout. And the results of that audit are still underway, it's still under investigation, but we're learning a lot of things about what we're not doing when it comes to the enforcement of those contracts. Now, the prime also has the flexibility to say once the contract's awarded, well, things didn't go as well as we thought they would during negotiations. You guys in the government kind of squeezed us a little bit harder, which squeezed out this particular company, and we're going to give you a new subcontracting plan. but it's up to the government to accept that and enforce that plan. And that's one of the areas where I can tell you that there are some shortcomings that are being addressed across the entire gamut when it comes to Navy, Marine Corps behavior on contracts. But I need to know that these things are occurring. Now, the recourse is where we have a problem, right? Your contract is with the government's contract is with the large. The relationship that large has with the primes, that's separate from the government. One of the things that I have encouraged small businesses to do throughout my tenure here has been to protect your badge that you wear at all times. If you have a woman-owned, hubs-owned, AA, service disabled, whatever badge you're wearing, and that company flies in and they want you on their team, and you can kind of sniff out that that's the reason they want you, but there may be not much work behind it, you need to protect your badge. Being a part of somebody's team early on in the solicitation phase may not be to your advantage if you're going to get burned at the back end. Legal representation, making sure that you get the right contract clauses in these documents, your teaming agreements, those things need to be insulated for your protection. And I understand they may have more lawyers, I understand they may have more resources, but you have rights and you have the right to not be on their team if you don't feel that particular outcome is going to be beneficial to you and your company. So I want everyone to protect themselves at all times when it comes to how we do business with one another. And it's on both sides of the equation that protection should take place. So I'm passionate about this. And I will tell you, the day that I lit off the audit in this particular arena, after I left the Navy Audit Service from doing that, I called the head of Navy contracts and I said to her on the phone, I probably should have told you I was going over to initiate this audit before I went over there. and she said to me, that would have been nice, but I wouldn't have stopped you. And oh, by the way, I look forward to the results so that we can go about making the necessary changes to how we do business if there's a problem. So we aren't trying to hide from problems. We're going to address them. And I'm here as an advocate for small businesses, and I represent the Secretary of the Navy to you. And I can't go back to them and say, we're letting you down, and here are all the great areas that we have shortcomings and not address them. So I got on the soapbox there for a minute. I'm sorry. But you opened it up.
I think the right topic to wrap up our session with.
Awesome. Well,
Dr. Tyre, we have a
I
couple
do
more
look
minutes.
forward to any opportunities. Okay.
We have a couple of minutes. Let's see if we can sneak on 1 more minute. Any more questions?
We're not getting any CMMC questions or anything, really?
Oh, there are tons.
There's plenty out there, and I think the biggest question on CMMC is small business is a small business. It takes quite a bit to fund CMMC as well as some of the other requirements, COVID compliance requirements.
Right.
Any thoughts on that?
Some of the things that I've heard from OSD is that the expenses that you would endure because of CMMC are reimbursable. I've heard that. I haven't seen it in writing yet, so I look forward to that coming out in the final product by way of this implementing instruction. But I will tell you hands down, if you're going to do business with the Department of Defense in the future and you're not CMMC certified, you don't get to do business with us just because of the implications of what we've gone through without that particular requirement levied on us. So much of our information has been compromised to our adversaries, and they're going in at the second tier, third tier, fourth tier levels of a subcontractor and taking this information and walking away scot-free with it. And you didn't even know they were in your IT system. And that information's gone. And whenever they want to go back in, they potentially can. And they may not just be harming the government in this regard, but they could be taking your company's IP, the things that make you special about the business that you do. They could be taking that with them too and recreating it elsewhere. And the Department of Defense has come down hard and says, and not everyone needs to be level 5, not everyone needs to be level 3. But the appropriate level of certification will be absolutely mandated if you're going to get a contract from us directly or from a prime who gets it directly and subs that work down. So it is a big deal, and there is no leniency for not doing it. And not doing it means not doing business with DoD.
Yes, sir. And Reena, we're at the top of the hour. I recommend just a minute for closing comments. We'll let Mr. Smith wrap it up. So we'll start with Mr. Beagle. You're on mute, sir.
Sorry about that. Thank you everybody for attending the event. Sure you guys have my number. If not, it is on our website and in Jimmy's earlier brief. So feel free to reach out if you got any questions about Marine Corps Systems Command. We'll be happy to have you compete on any small business requirements we have coming up. We got a good little bit of postings coming up for the next couple quarters that you'll probably see on both Beta Sam and Seaport. And hope to see some of you at our next vendor day in middle to late May.
All right, Mr. Smith, closing thoughts and comments, or a very small soapbox, sir?
Okay, very small soapbox then. So for nearly 30 years, I've provided warfighting capability by the actions that I've had to execute working for the Department of the Navy. This job gives me another great opportunity to use small businesses as weapons towards those things we need to fight. And sometimes it's large business, sometimes it's our adversary, but giving people the capability, what they need in order to go into harm's way and come back safely to their families, that's what this is really all about. If you support that mission, you support that requirement, you can do business with us. And as I mentioned, there are no free handouts. If you say you're going to deliver it, we expect it to be delivered on time, on cost, and it does exactly what you said it was going to do. So I look forward to doing business with you. If you have challenges or problems in any aspect of doing business with the Navy Marine Corps team, I want to know about it, because I get to stand on the side, pull a pin out the hand grenade, throw it in that room, close the door, and let them deal with the problem that you bring forward. And then when they come out with a solution, I can come back and tell you, hey, that problem you brought to my attention, we solved it. So don't hesitate to use the small business resources for what you need, because we're here and only supporting what you are bringing to the fight. Over. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here today. This was a great webinar. I love this one. Great questions.
I appreciate you both being here. Reena, ma'am, over to you for wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Smith, Mr. Beagle. We appreciate your time. Dr. Tyre, thank you for moderating this. And I know I keep jumping in. I just can't help myself. I like my soapbox too. So thank you.
We said it was going to be fun.
we do have some follow-up questions we'll be sending to your offices, to our participants. There are some very personal questions. We'll try to get you answers directly from Mr. Smith or Mr. Beagle's office. So we'll continue the support beyond this webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.